Happy July 11th, everybody, and welcome to the Phoenicia Show podcast, where it is our premiere episode. It is launch day. Today is launch day. And so the question here is to mask or not to mask. We are masking here in the station, so we apologize. We are going to try and speak as clearly and as loudly as possible to make sure you guys understand us out there. Today we have a very, very, very special episode, and I'm really looking forward to this episode because it's our premiere launch day, of course, and it's our first interview following our official launch with Miss Erin Quander. So she is the managing attorney at the Quander Law Firm PLLC. She is an amazing woman and an amazing attorney. We have had two previous interviews during our soft launch, but again, this is our first official launch, our first official interview after our launch. And so Erin's going to break down what it means to pursue your dreams despite the obstacles, and more specifically pursuing a career in the legal field, which has been long dominated by males. So thank you so much, Erin, for joining us today with your mask. I wish we could see your lovely face, but you know, we got to make sure this COVID-19 stays contained, right? Right, of course. And so we actually met a few years ago when you were actually just beginning your career. Had you recently graduated when I met you?
Yes, that's correct.
What was the year you graduated?
2015.
And of course you went to an amazing school.
Right, Thurgood
Marshall School of Law, because I went there as well, and so did my husband. And so since meeting, I have enjoyed watching Erin's growth as a young woman, as an attorney, as a blossoming into a fellow attorney who runs a professional and successful family law firm. The Quander Law Firm is doing great things in the field for family law and also in our community. So I want you to just start off by saying, Erin, welcome, and tell us about your law firm. We'll go into that for a little bit.
Okay, so my law firm, I established it in 2015. My primary focus for my law firm is divorce, family law, child custody. I'm a big advocate of fathers' rights as well. I also do criminal defense as well, so representing individuals who are charged with felonies and misdemeanors. And overall, I created my law firm so that I can do what I wanted to do, which is walk in my purpose of advocating for others.
Now that is awesome. That's awesome because, there are so many different fields of legal study that you can go into. A lot of people think that if you're an attorney or if you're a lawyer, you practice all the areas of law. Right. And you would agree that's not true.
That's not true. You have to, pick a lane, and I've definitely picked mine, and that's divorce, family law and criminal defense. And I'm always happy to refer people to, other great attorneys who practice in other areas.
Of course. And so how did you get into the family law practice? Because for the family law practice, let me tell everybody who's listening, so all the listeners, family law takes, and I can see why Erin got in there. You have to be very calm. You have to be patient. You have to be very, very patient. You are literally dealing with some complex issues. You're dealing with probably the most sensitive issue going on in someone's life at that time, whether it's a divorce, like you said, child custody, and no matter how stable of a person you are, I would assume things you never really know how bad things can get until your personal life is shaken up. So tell me, what is it that drew you to family law out of the different areas? Because when I met you, you were working with my husband's firm, and it was employment litigation, no criminal defense, but now you're doing family law and criminal defense. So tell us, what drew you to that area of practice?
I would say, for one, I come from a background, where I didn't grow up in a two-parent household, but, I knew how important that was for me to, have both my parents around if, that was what my dad chose to, ever do. So for me, to watch, some of my family members go through certain situations where I felt like, if I had the opportunity to ever advocate for them while they were in that position, that's what I wanted to do. And aside from, me stepping into an area where I felt like I wanted to grow, and never stop learning. And family law is constantly changing. Even now with COVID, there have been a bunch of issues that have never come up. And to say that I'm going to be a part of history and family law, where we're having different laws that affect individuals with child custody orders, that meant something to me. So mainly for me, it was just being able to not only make a difference in kids' life, while their parents are going through those rough periods of time, but also to be that voice, for someone who, you could potentially be losing out on, your spousal support. If a father, you're not able to see your children, but you're, actively trying to be in their life. I want to be that voice for you.
And you know what? That's awesome. And one thing that actually stood out while you were speaking, and I'll go to the next question after this, but one of the things that really stood out to me, and I did a little bit of family law when I got out of, when I moved back to Houston from DC. So I graduated from Thurgood Marshall, went to DC, worked on Capitol Hill, came back, got into the family law arena. And one of the things I noticed, I had represented some fathers, some mothers. I really, I wasn't picky. I just, if someone came to me and had a good story, I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and represent you. But one of the things that stands out about you is that we have a lot of, and I would even say female attorneys that represent, and they typically tend to only represent the moms, and typically only seem to lean towards the mom's interest. So it's interesting twofold, and I want you to answer this. The fact that you said you didn't grow up in a two-parent home, but you innately knew growing up in a two-family home would have probably been the best situation for you. And so number one, I want to hear a little bit more from you, because I was going to go into who is Erin Quander, so that's actually a nice transition. But tell me, what is it that how did you know, even as a child, it seems like even from a young age, how did you know that having that two-parent home was essentially what you needed, and then what you wanted to fight for other children and other families out there? And then what made you focus on father's rights instead of just mom's rights? Of course you fight for mom's rights, but what made you hold both of those equally important?
Okay, so to answer your first question, who is Erin Quander? So I'm from Austin, Texas, East Austin to be exact. So, the people that know East Austin as it is now, and I'm from the old East Austin, it's been gentrified, very heavily. And, when I speak about, not growing up in that two-parent household, at the time when I was younger, you have your grandparents, you have your uncles, your mom, strong, very strong woman, who's there to, fill in that gap for you. But, it took for me to be an adult to realize there are just certain things that, a mom cannot teach, a child. And so just like, the laws in Texas are supposed to be gender neutral. A mom is not the best fit always for, children just because she's a nurturer. But there are certain things, that are detrimental to a child's success, their self-esteem, that, they need their fathers around. And so this is not always the case, but, most of the times when I hear fathers who are having issues with their visitation issues or being in their child's life, it's normally, either him and mom are not getting along, mom, is not letting them see the child. And if they are actually in my office, that means that they care to be in their child's life. And I want to, do what I can. And so let me just be clear, I'm a big advocate for everybody's rights, but, that means moms and fathers. But, I have a soft spot, when I have a father who comes in and says, I've not seen my child, in 6 months. And so I'm like, what can I do to help you? And that's where I'm going to make sure that, I do all that I can to reunite you with your child, because it matters. I don't care what anyone says. A child needs both of their parents. Right. And there's just certain things that, I could never have learned from my mom, that I would have wanted to learn from my father.
Right.
And my mom, she didn't never keep me away, or anything from my dad, but it's just the idea that, if you have a father who wants to be active in a child's life, let them.
Right. And so, and of course you made a great point. And like I said, as advocates, and especially me knowing you personally, I already know you advocate strongly for whatever side you represent, whether that's the mom or whether that's the dad. And of course the big thing with family law attorneys, and tell, you can tell us a little bit more, but you determine the standard is essentially the best interest of the child, right? And so when you think about the best interest of the child, of course, is to have both parents in their lives. But if we do have that unique situation where it might be an unhealthy situation, either whether it's with the mother or with the father, what's your normal course of action if you feel like one of the parents may be unhealthy for the actual child?
Well, there's two parts to that question. One, your job, as an attorney, when someone comes to you, is to advocate for your client, so that means that whatever, their interest is, and the good thing about being in a court of law where I'm not the judge or the jury is that all I can do is advocate, for my client. So if they aren't the best, it's going to be up to the judge to, determine what's, the best interest of the child. So whether that's, let me tell them to go to counseling, hey, you need to get some, domestic violence, training. You need to go and get some parenting courses to see how you can be a better parent. And then let me take, your progress that you've made and let me show the courts, he might need some supervised visits, but he doesn't need to be completely, out of the child's life. So that's always hard as an attorney because, when your clients come to you, they just want what they want, and so you have to explain to them at the end of the day, we're going before, a judge or a jury that's going to make that decision as to what's in the best interest of your child. The only thing I can do is advocate for you and put you in the best position to where they can see, you're trying. You may not be a perfect parent, but does that mean that you should be stripped of your rights? Absolutely not.
Yeah. That's very true. Well, thank you. You made some, like I said, you made some very good points, and that's already, as soon as I knew you had started your family law firm, and when did you officially start? It was a couple of years ago.
In 2016, May or June of 2016.
2016, so it's about 4 years now. Yes. So about 4 years now, we've been going strong, and as soon as I saw your Facebook page pop up and it was like the Quander Law Firm, I was like, oh, Erin's going to be perfect for this field. You were just so patient. You have such a calm spirit, even when I first met you, just a very settled spirit. So I'm sure I know your clients love you. And so let's just roll into it. Now, when we talk about father's rights, of course, I had to, I follow you. I followed you for a long time since I met you, but you're very close to your brother.
Yes.
Tell us about your brother, and I believe you have a niece. And so tell us about your brother, your relationship with him, and tell us, is that what plays a role as well, and you being an advocate for both the mother's and father's rights?
Okay, so let me just say this. A lot of people don't know this, but I have 2 brothers.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I do have 2. It's just
awesome.
that, my older brother, there's a big age gap. So I do have
Shout out to younger brother. Is he younger?
No, he's older.
Shout out to both older brothers. I didn't mind. Mean to play you to the left. Make her take you out to lunch. She owes you.
Yeah, so I do have 2 brothers. They're both fathers, and they are,
awesome.
Both wonderful fathers. And so, particularly the brother that you're probably speaking about, he's the one that's closer in age to me. My brother Ernest, my oldest brother is Damien. They are both absolutely great fathers. And so the one thing, that I can speak of, specifically with my brother that's, more closer in age to me, he has always been to my niece what he wanted, for our father to be. And so when I look at him and the way he parents, with his child and also my older brother as well, I couldn't imagine seeing, 2 men who actually are passionate about being fathers, not being able to be in their, kid's life. And essentially, they were my big brothers, but they also, to a certain extent, played, that male, father figure role to me as well. So when I see men like that, it makes me, want to, represent other people that are, like that in the world too, where they just want to be to their kids what either their parents, their fathers weren't to them, and also just overall give their kids a fair shot at, having 2 parents in their life, because there's a lot of women that say they're single moms. Well, when I hear single mom, I think of my mom, like, you were really a single mom, but if you have someone that's there trying to parent with you, that's it's 2 different things, so, yeah.
And so that would be like co-parenting. That's the term that we typically hear, is the term co-parenting. Now, question, Erin, and your expertise, do you have to be with the other parent in order to be a co-parent? So all of our people that are out there listening that may say, hey, my significant other who I had this child with, whether we were married or in a dating relationship or whatever whatever developed that beautiful child, I don't think that we're in sync. However, is there a way for them to go ahead and say, hey, let's make sure we work it out for the kid, for our child, to make sure that they have the best experience and everything, that they may need or want growing up? What do you normally tell your clients about that?
I would say that, the first thing, just like you said, you have to do what's best for the child. And if that means, setting aside your personal, issues with the parent, like they might have not been the best, significant other or the best boyfriend or girlfriend to you, but it's about, what are they to this child? And can you set your, issues aside to do what's best for them? Because ultimately, kids, they're going to see you fighting, and they feel that. And
they watch everything.
They watch everything.
They're nosy.
They're nosy, and you know what they do? And I've learned this in being a family law attorney. They will tell you one thing when they're in your presence, and then they will go and tell the other parent, something completely different. So they essentially will play the parents against each other.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do that when the parents are into it. But if you have a healthy relationship and you say, okay, you know what, we didn't get along, but we have 2 kids or 2 or 3, whatever kids in common. Let's do, what we need to do, to make sure that they do not, go without anything, that they're in the best position to be successful, adults, because it matters, and so I can only imagine being an adult pulled in 2 different directions. Imagine how that feels as a child to be pulled, in 2 different directions by 2 people that you love. So the key to co-parenting is you have to put your personal issues aside, like let that, part go. And I know it's not always the best, but, if you want it to be very toxic and to where your kids are in a bad space, then, that's going to be the only thing that you can't do is let it go.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm like, Erin, besides being a family law attorney and a criminal attorney, you might have to branch your business out to being a relationship a relationship expert, or maybe like a relationship counselor. I'm listening there. I'm like, yes. But no, great advice. So let me ask you a question. Have you always wanted to be an attorney?
You know what? I've always wanted to be an attorney. Like, how most kids when they're younger, they say, oh, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a teacher. If you go and ask any of my teachers from elementary, they would always give my mom, the same feedback. That Erin, she will not be quiet. She likes to argue, and I'm still like that as an adult. I'm not confrontational, but I do like to be challenged in an argument or whatever. So I've always wanted to be an attorney.
That's awesome.
I've never had any other aspirations to be anything else besides an attorney.
Okay. And I mean, people have, and I don't know. You tell me if you're the same way, but as attorneys, a lot of times we have these alter egos that we turn on when we step inside the courtroom. I know people, when I met Erin, I'm like, she's so quiet and nice and sweet. And then, like I said, I know you're a successful family law attorney, so I know you get in there and battle it out with the best of them. And then sometimes people used to see me and be like, oh, you're so quiet and nice. And they see me at trial and they're like, ooh, okay, I want you as my attorney. So it's an interesting thing. So tell me, before we go to our first commercial break, when you look back at growing up, what is the difference between the Erin then and the Erin now that we see before us, 2020?
I would say less fear. I was always the kid, while I could argue, I was also afraid of a lot of things. I was very, kind of self-conscious, scared to step out of my shell, and now it's just like, I'm walking in my purpose. I'm more confident, more sure of myself. That's what I would say.
That's wonderful. Is there any advice that you give to any of our listeners, whether they're older or younger? Really, it doesn't matter. A lot of times life will put you in some funny situations where you just need to hear a word of motivation from somebody who's gone through it. We have all gone through it. Trust me, at some level, and if you haven't gone through it yet, you will go through it at some point. But what is your advice as somebody who came from a single parent home but is very open-minded, is now a boss attorney, runs your own practice? What is some advice that you say, hey, I was fearful then, but I'm fearless now? What would you advise people?
I would always advise anyone who's in that circumstance, to always remind yourself you are not a product of your circumstances. What, the situation you're in right now, that's not going to be your forever. And so, you set the goal, where are you at right now? Is this how you want to live in years to come? And if it's not, set yourself a plan and say, okay, I'm going to go to college, or even if you're not going to go to college, I'm going to get a trade, or I'm going to start my business. And just know that, like with consistency and discipline and just believing in yourself, and even if you have one person that, you know, is a part of your support system that you can lean on. That's my grandfather, you know,
Okay.
like I can't say enough things about, well, I have great grandparents, you know. So my grandparents, they are, you know, a big part of my support system. And just, you know, lean on those people that, you know, when you're having the rough times or you're unsure about yourself, go to those people for advice, you know, and they will definitely, you know, let you know that they believe in you.
Right.
And just believe in yourself. Go do whatever it is that you want to do, and just know that the sky, you know, is the limit. Break through all of those glass ceilings. And if you're a woman, you know, a man, or whatever the case may be, just know that you can be a boss too. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always tell people, look, if someone who ever looked like you has accomplished that goal, you can do it too.
Right.
And probably 10 times over. So
That's right.
We are going to take a quick commercial break, guys, and we will be right back. Thank you for joining us at Hope Over Hurt. Stay tuned in as we come back with the interview. We will continue with this interview with Erin Quander of the Quander Law Firm PLLC. You do not want to miss the rest of this because I'm going to ask her some questions she's not really ready for. So stay tuned, guys. Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. If you are just now tuning in, thank you and welcome to the Phoenicia Show podcast. We are hosting our first official interview after our premiere. Today is premiere day. It is July 11th, premiere day. We are so excited to have our special guest here. Miss Erin Quander is the managing attorney for the Quander Law Firm PLLC. She specializes in family law and is just an all-around amazing woman and successful attorney. So with this segment, we're going to focus more on your law firm. So we talked a little bit about Erin, who she is, who is the woman behind the suit. So we are going to talk about the law firm. So my question is, Erin, before going to law school, did you actually have a career? Or did you come straight from undergrad?
I literally graduated from undergrad in 2011. I took a year off to study for the LSAT, and then I went straight to law school. So
Okay.
I didn't really have, I wouldn't say I had much of a career.
Okay, that's okay. And you don't have to. I think I had like maybe 2 years, but that's just because I couldn't get into law school at first. And for anybody out here listening, at one point I played Division I basketball, and I thought I was going to be the first woman in the NBA. Clearly, I'm sitting here, so that didn't happen. But at some point, I did have to recognize that the grades that I was getting were not good enough to get into law school, so I had to take the LSAT. I took that twice.
Okay.
And I think I got like 4 parking tickets when I was in D.C. taking it the second time. It's kind of sad. That was kind of sad. I'm like, really? I'm taking like this 2-day, was it 2 or 3 days? Was it 2 days?
Mm-hmm.
It was a 2-day test. Come outside. Not only did they come to my car one time, they circled back around and gave me a second ticket on top of the first ticket.
Wow.
And that's why I left D.C. But shout out to everybody in D.C. Now, let me ask you a question. When I did meet you, like I stated before, you were actually working with my husband's then firm at the time, which was right downtown.
Right.
I was a prosecutor with the Harris County District Attorney's Office at that time. So technically, even though you came straight from undergrad and you went straight into law school, which is awesome, you were really like a 9-to-5-er, somebody who worked a 9-to-5 job, correct?
Right.
I mean, you didn't get the full blunt of the, what do we call, corporate cliques, which is good. I'm glad you skipped over that.
Right.
That's a lot of mess. But, it's not, being an entrepreneur or a business owner is not for everybody. But tell me, what made you pivot from working for somebody to then establishing your own business?
I think for me it was one, when I was able to establish my own, law firm and my own business, I knew that I could, have the flexibility to take the cases that I did want and say no to the ones that I didn't want, and then something else that I'm really big on is I don't really like routines much. So like someday I might wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to kill it today. I'm going, go into the office for, 8 to whatever, 6 p.m. and then I'm going to come home and, go to bed. Right. But if I have a day where I say, you know what, I need a self-care day. And I'm really big on self-care. And there are times, when I either, take that mental day for myself or, if I want to spend time with my family or, just do something that I want to do for myself. I know that the traditional 9-to-5 doesn't always allow for me to make that type of, have that type of flexibility. So that was the main thing, is that I wanted something that I could create and do it the way I wanted it to be done, you know, instead of someone already having a blueprint laid out for me. You know, like everything about my firm, I've, you know, done it on my own. And I'm not the best, I'm not perfect, but it's something that I'm, you know, growing. It's something that's, you know, constantly evolving into hopefully one day it will be, you know, the big firms like you see on Suits.
Oh, you'll be there. You'll be there. You'll be there. I have full faith and confidence that you will absolutely be there.
Thank you.
And so let me say this, and I'm not downing anybody that does have a 9-to-5 job. Kudos to you, especially with COVID-19 going on. It's very, very difficult now for people to either get a job or keep their job. And I should know I do employment litigation.
Right.
But you know, let me ask you, do you believe that someone can develop into a business owner, an entrepreneur? Do you feel like it's something that just has to be innate within them? Like, does that have to just be something they're born with? Or do you believe that, hey, someone can develop and say, hey, this is what I want to do?
I would say that it's a little bit of both. You know, it has to be in you to know that you are going to have to hustle. If you are a business owner, you don't work for a check. You hustle for a check. You know, and so if you know that you are not a hustler, that you are not the type to go out and, you know, like get the business that you want your, you know, firm to have, then maybe the 9-to-5 is, you know, going to be a better fit for you, because some people, they're just not, you know, social. They don't want to have to do any extra work. Like for me, you know, because it's just me. I don't have the, you know, I don't have the full team, you know, so I'm the, you know, the biller, the attorney, you know, the receptionist, I'm all of that, you know, and so starting out, you have to be all of those things, you know, to get you to where you want to be. So if you know that you are not a hustler, you don't want to have long hours, you don't want to be frustrated, then maybe the 9-to-5 is for you, you know, but you can be a, if you want to start a business and you've never started one, if you have the drive, the discipline for it, you can absolutely do it. And prime example, you know, outside of legal field, these boutiques, you know, you see these girls, they start a boutique, they had, you know, probably just bought a few clothes and then they're like, oh, this looks good. And then they said, let me start my own. And then now you see them sharing their sales or whatever, $1 million in sales. Yeah. That's inspirational. You know, they probably started out just selling some t-shirts out of their, you know, living room. And then now here they are in, you know, big facilities. So I would say anybody has the potential to be a business owner.
Absolutely, and I agree. I think, you know, especially in this day and age where we have social media, where you have access to Instagram or Facebook, it's free.
Right.
You can, like you said, and even if you don't want to transition right away, and this is just for anybody else that's out there listening, whether you're an attorney or in a different field, if you don't want to transition, you can always do the 9-to-5, and then when you get home, take a break, take care of the kids, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
And around 7 or 8, and 8 to 12, you start on your other business, right?
Yeah. Right.
So,
and that's something else I want to, you know, talk about, because I think that's a big thing for people. You know, a lot of times people tell you just up and quit your job. Now, it was a little dangerous for me. I want to tell you, it was rough. You know, when you start with nothing and you just jump right into, you know, owning a business, that's really rough. You know, so to the people who do have a 9-to-5, there's nothing wrong with having that consistent income, that cushion for you, you know, the stability, and then you can use that to build your business, you know. So in no way am I knocking the 9-to-5. You know, for me it was a little bit different. It was like, okay, you have to do this, you know, like you're going to need to start this business, and you might not have, you know, the funds or whatever that you want to, you know, have right now, but it's going to come. And so I would say I'm not knocking a 9-to-5. You have to use it to your advantage if it allows you to save money or have benefits, because, let me tell y'all, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm also a professor at a university. So, you know, that helps me, you know, like I definitely, you know, am appreciative, you know, you get, you know, extra perks of having, you know, the benefits of a job, but, you know, I still have my own business.
Absolutely. And what do you teach?
The legal environment of business.
Okay, good. So it's like are you like a full-time professor? Should I call you Professor Quander?
You can.
Okay, I love that. I love it. And then, you know, quick point to what you said. I think you said at one time it's the flexibility that you're talking about. I laughed because I saw a post that you had put up not too long ago. It must have been during COVID, but you were like, I was sick. Sorry, guys. You know, I'm taking the day off. And you were like, it's Monday. I came back to try and work, and I don't remember Nathan. You were like, I don't remember anything. I don't even remember how to work anymore. It's gray outside. I can't do this. You know, and I've had those days too, managing my own firm, where I'm just like, I can't even think straight. Right. Or something happens, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put this to the side, and I'm gonna have to start working on this tomorrow. And it's just something that it's freedom. It's a movement towards freedom. Right. But Again, not knocking anybody else. So let me ask you a question. What are 3 principles that Erin Quander lives by as an attorney and as a woman, as a individual, as a person?
I would say the first principle is being true to yourself. That's a big thing for me, both professionally and personally. Being true to yourself. Integrity. I'm really big on integrity. Being honest with the person, being trustworthy. And the last one is the last principle. I would say faith. That's a big one for me. Faith has gotten me through a lot of things, both professionally and personally. Just having that spiritual connection to get me through so many things, and I live by that. Just my prayers and having faith that everything will work out. That's big for me.
I love that. So, like you said, as an attorney, especially in that field, or just in entrepreneurship or running your own business, I think if you do not have integrity, people will be able to see through that very, very quickly.
Right.
People will not return because they know they can't trust you or can't believe what you're saying. And of course, it's unethical for us.
Right.
It's supposed to be.
Right.
We know we got some interesting people in our field.
Absolutely.
But, I think, when you say you have faith, I mean, for anybody out there that's watching or listening, faith can be in anything that you want it to be in, but you have to believe in something. I think, like you said earlier, you have to start with believing in yourself.
Right.
Even if you have other people around you that are supportive, that believe in you, that hurrah, rah, rah, or if you have absolutely nobody around you. But it starts with you. It starts as a little bitty mustard seed, and if you believe it, I guarantee you other people around you will start to change their mind and believe in exactly what you're talking about. So I love your principles that you live by, and I'm assuming the professional crosses right over to your personal.
Absolutely.
Okay, of course. And so let me ask you a question. So we talked really quickly when I did the introduction that, we have a 2-to-1 ratio here in Texas, and actually in the American Bar Association. I looked at the statistics. It's 2-to-1 males to females in our legal field. And knowing that, what are some of the challenges that you can kind of let other people know, whether they'll be your clients or whether they are possibly looking at going into law school, or other young women or older women that, or whatever age they're at. What are some of the challenges that you feel like you face as a woman in the legal field that's typically male dominated?
I would say the first thing that I'll say about this is being open, being up for the challenge of knowing that you're going to have to work twice as hard, as the other people in this profession, because women were outnumbered, especially being a minority as well. So just that's the first thing that I would say is just being up for the challenge of knowing that you are always going to be having to work twice as hard to prove yourself, show people that you are just as worthy as any other attorney. And so just as long as it's not going to be a cakewalk, and it is a male-dominated field, you just have to be confident, and step in there and say that you have the same law license that this person standing next to you has.
And say that again. I'm gonna have to stop you right there. I think that was one of the biggest things I had to learn when I got my law degree as well. Is regardless of how long someone's been practicing or how many years that they've been talking to this judge, or they know this courthouse or this courtroom, at the end of the day, we both have the exact same license that's weighted the exact same way. And so let me help you out there. There we go. A short pause for the cause. But it's weighted in the exact same way. Was that the kind of? It sounds like that's what you're saying. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Like even I would tell young lawyers this too. That was something that was very intimidating for me at first. You go in and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a board certified lawyer, and then so when you get that ruling and you're like, wait a minute, I just got a W here, and so I would just say that. Just trust in yourself and know that you got that license, and age doesn't determine anything. It might mean that they're more experienced, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be a better lawyer. Be open to coming prepared. That's the biggest thing. Always be prepared.
Yep, because you can always outwork somebody.
Right.
can always outwork somebody. And so when we talk about prepared, tell me, in the family law section, like I said, it's been a while since I've been kind of close to that arena, but there are, you know, I know more than a few amazing women, especially with you being at the top, dealing in the family law area. But do you do a lot of trials or litigation? Like, how is that looking? Well, with COVID-19, you can tell me the difference between then and now that COVID is hit.
Well, I would say for me in family law, you know, luckily, you know, I have had a lot of my cases that are able to be, you know, resolved in either mediation or the parties can reach an agreement. And then with COVID right now, you know, pretty much I have a trial coming up actually, and it's going to be my first Zoom trial. And
oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting, you know, because the judge is not able to, you know, see them face to face. They're, you know,
Wait, they're going to do a Zoom trial?
A Zoom trial.
Is this here in Harris County?
Harris
Wow.
County. You know, I'm going to have my first one, and you know, so.
Okay, hold on. This is just like baffled me. Wow. Okay. I mean, look, it is 2020, and COVID it's such a double-edged sword.
Right.
You know, it has brought a lot of stuff to people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
It has opened up markets for people who wouldn't have had the opportunity before. And it has really expanded our horizons to say, wow, this is not the 16th century anymore, and we can now do trials over Zoom. So walk us through what that process, number one, just tell us what a normal jury selection looks like in person for people who raise their hand and try and get out of jury trial, and I know who you are because I've seen it before. And put your hand down, Adriana. We're going to talk about that afterwards. But, let's talk about, tell me what a regular jury trial looked like before COVID, and now with this Zoom trial that's coming up, explain to people, what are the differences?
Okay, well, I will say I normally prefer to do, bench trials,
Gotcha.
Most of the time
Gotcha.
instead of jury trials. But, something that I do want to say about jury trials is I encourage people to sit on, juries. If you're ever called for jury duty, it's your civic duty to go ahead and make sure that you answer that call. So that's you too, Adriana.
She is my amazing videographer. So if you need a videographer, make sure you contact Adriana Miss Cool in the city. She's amazing. So yes, me and Erin are calling her out right now. And anybody else that may be listening, it is your civic duty. It's your right, and you want to make sure that things are made right in the community that you live in.
Right.
And the only way one of the only way to do it, you got a chance to vote, you can run for office, you can start a podcast, you can do just about anything where you have your own platform. But one of those ways is absolutely to make sure you serve on a jury,
Yes.
if you have the opportunity.
Right.
So, but okay, so it's a bench trial. So a bench trial, for anybody that doesn't know, for our non-legalese, a bench trial is just a trial that you can either go in front of the judge or you can go in front of a jury. So when you go in front of a jury, you're going in front of, do you guys have 10 or 12? What do you guys do?
You know what?
You don't
Yeah.
It's been a while. That's okay.
I was going to say, I've never had a jury trial.
Okay.
Just so you know, I've never had a jury trial.
And see, this is why areas of law are so different for every attorney. Like I said, I used to be a criminal prosecutor, but now I do employment litigation. And with employment litigation, we actually have the same amount of jurors that we would have for a felony trial, which is 12. So that's how I know that, and that's how I'm able to stay up on that. But that makes sense to me with family law, why you would just do a bench trial.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes way more sense. So let me ask you a question really quickly. If there was something, and I think I asked you, I said, what would you do? What's the difference between the Erin then and the Erin now? So when you started your firm in 2016, tell me, what would you tell 2016 Erin? What would the 2020 Erin tell the 2016 Erin? Hey, let me tell you this so you can avoid that.
What would I tell myself? You know what? I would tell myself that my grandfather always tells me this thing, this quote. He says, don't let, your desire for perfection get in the way of progression. Mm-hmm. And I used to always feel like everything had to be perfect. I had to look a certain way, like this had to, be this way, and that everything just absolutely had to be perfect. And now I know that it's not perfection. It's always progression, and so that would be the first thing. And just to, not be so hard on myself. Mm-hmm. That's something, we can be our worst critics at times. And so if I made a mistake, I was beating myself up. And so that's why they call it the practice of law. You are constantly always practicing, and you're always learning. And so that would be my first thing, is to, not be so hard on myself. And then the last thing is mental health. I'm very big on, mental health and taking care of my mental health. Dealing with family law matters, you take on a lot of people's problems. And so sometimes, like you can just find yourself so wrapped up in that you're not even taking care of your own, self. So I would tell my younger self, or the Erin, from back then, hey, take a break. It's the weekend or it's after hours. Don't answer that call. Don't feel like you can't, do anything to take care of yourself, because those problems, you can't do anything about them at this time. The courts are closed. But Monday morning we're turning that phone call. But in the meantime, self-care is really big, and that was something that before I would kind of feel like I was burning myself out, and now I know, if I'm tired, rest. If you don't feel like going to the office, don't do it. And that's the beauty of working for yourself versus if I call my boss, they might be like, what's self-care?
Right.
You come in
here and care about us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Just, self-care, not striving for perfection, always, trying to reach progression. And just, it gets greater later. That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah. I love that. I love all three. I think, the first point you hit on was almost like an analysis paralysis, which is what a lot of people hit, and including myself. There are things that even to this day I'm like, nah, nobody's gonna like this, or there, whatever it is you create in your own mind, that there's this insurmountable obstacle that once you start and once you do it, you're like, oh man, I could have done that like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But like you said, just pushing yourself beyond a comfort zone is when you will really start to see rewards. For whatever it is that you've done. So I think that's great. And I think the second one you said, the second point that you had made was perfection.
Right.
And self-care. So I love that, the mental health, take a break. I think, the thing about working for yourself, if you want to go work outside in the fresh air, you can sit outside and take your laptop. Like literally, this is all I need. And I would assume you too, like you would just grab your laptop and just start contacting your clients or doing whatever you need to do from a coffee shop. What is one of the biggest things that you actually miss about like the freedom, let's say, so like I said, COVID's been a double-edged sword, but what is one of the biggest things that you miss about going out to like a coffee shop or going out somewhere while you're working, like a working thing that you usually do?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's much that I miss, because how do I say it? I'm not too big on coffee shops, because I'm one of those people that I get distracted very easily.
Oh, okay.
So like if I'm in a coffee shop, I'm people watching, and that's not always the best for me. But I would say just the whole adjusting to the new norm has been the thing that I struggle with. You get somewhere and then you run back to the car. Oh, I forgot my mask.
Right.
That's been the main thing. But I wouldn't say so much as the work environment being interrupted. It's more so like I just work from home a lot. If I don't feel like coming into the office, and just trying to stay productive. That's the biggest thing. Like if I work from home, you have to know you are not cleaning today. You are working.
Yes.
So I do still go into the office some days, but I do a lot of working from home as well.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, you have given us so much amazing advice in talking about the law end. So when we come back, we're going to shift from the law focus to the culture and the community aspect of our show. So the Phoenicia Show podcast is focused mainly on politics, culture, and community. We, of course, tied in the legal aspect, because law is tied into literally every area of life, whether that's politics, whether that's, day-to-day going to the grocery store or signing a contract. So when we come back, we're going to be asking Erin some questions and diving a little bit more into culture and community here in Houston and even nationally. So stay tuned, guys. And we are back, guys. Welcome to the Phoenicia Show podcast. If you're just now joining us, thank you so much for tuning in. I am joined by our lovely special guest, Erin Quander, who is the attorney and managing attorney for the Quander Law Firm PLLC, which is a family law firm and criminal defense firm. Now, if you missed it a little bit earlier, you might want to rewind, but we're going to move from the grown-up stuff, the big girl stuff, the boss lady stuff. We are actually going to move into into a really, really fun segment where we just talk to Erin about some things that are going on in the community, that are going on nationally with politics, and maybe a little bit local. We might get into that just a tiny bit. And her shoe and style segment, which is perfectly aligned with attorney Quander. But let me ask you, now here in Houston, we are known for our food.
Right.
Am I wrong? We are definitely known for our food. I mean, COVID or not, these lines at some of these food trucks and these businesses have been crazy. I know my husband went the other day. I was so excited. I was like, oh, we're about to get these flavor wings. Have you guys heard of flavor wings?
I haven't heard that.
FLAVA wings. And it just looked so good. So I was like, I was picking out what I wanted. And he drove there. The phone wasn't, there was ringing, but they weren't picking up. And that's always a sign that it's probably too busy. Mm-hmm. So he went. I texted my order. I was like, let me get the garlic parmesan wings. And let me get the loaded fries. And let me get the Kool-Aid. They had Kool-Aid on the menu. So yes, I went for it. And so, do you drink Kool-Aid? Not at home.
Not at home. But
if you drink it if you have it out?
I haven't been to a restaurant that has Kool-Aid.
Really? Are you having your ratchet?
No.
I think Erin's judging me.
I just haven't been to a restaurant where I, have Kool-Aid. I need to go to Flavor Wings.
Yeah, Flavor Wings. Well, that's why I was really excited. They had Kool-Aid on the menu, and I'm like, I usually never see Kool-Aid. My husband was like, yo, you're so. I was like, I give me the Kool-Aid. I was like, just give me the Kool-Aid. You don't have to ask no questions. You don't have to give me nothing extra. But no. But I guess my point is, what is your go-to spot in Houston where we know if we walk in there, and hold on, and actually, let me do a fun part to this segment. I feel like if you let me guess.
Okay.
Let me guess what Erin looks like. Let me guess where I think Erin goes. But, and then you tell me if I'm wrong. I'll probably be wrong. But you look like a Max's Wine Dive kind of girl.
You know what? I used to love Max's, but let me tell you, they took away this food item that I used to like. It was creme brulee French toast. Okay. And they got rid of it. So when they got rid of it, I was like, hey, Max, this is what was keeping me coming here. Okay. So I would say I'm still trying to figure out what is my best brunch spot, but for sure what I like for drinks is I love Steak 48. Drinks and dinner. That's one of my favorite places. I actually celebrate my birthday there nearly almost every year. And then right now, the spot that I love, I hate that they took away the happy hour, but I understand they have to, make their money for COVID. Gloria's is my spot.
It's Mexican food.
Yes,
their food
I love Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
So Gloria's, that's one of my favorite places for my girls to go for happy hour. Okay. They do have a nice brunch too, but I used to like Max's, but now they need to bring back my creme brulee French toast.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And so I was actually going to ask you what's your favorite brunch spots, but we know what your favorite brunch spots are. What's your favorite dinner spot? If you had to go somewhere for dinner, if there was something like you have your creme brulee French toast, is there a Houston spot that if someone comes from out of town, if you're family or friends that have never been here from East Austin, if you're East Texas, is it East Texas or East Austin?
East Austin.
East Austin. If they come from East Austin and you're like, we have to eat dinner here,
right? Where
would that be?
I'm just going to have to say, anybody who knows me knows that I love Steak 48. I would definitely tell them to go there, get that, what is it called? Creme brulee corn.
Okay, you like creme brulee.
I do.
Okay.
They have this corn there, and it has a kind of scorch on the top of it, and it's very good. Their mac and cheese, the steaks. You're not going to get a bad meal from them. And even the bread that they bring out. I like that place. And then lately I've been feeling Grace's. Grace's that's on Kirby. You might not ever have thought to try this, but they have a shrimp burger. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, and I'm normally not even a big, shrimp person, but they have a shrimp burger and it's on this pretzel bun, and I absolutely love that. They have great drinks there as well.
Sounds good.
And their mac and cheese.
You love that. You're a mac and cheese.
I'm a mac and cheese.
I am too.
I love mac and cheese. Yes.
Oh my goodness. That is my heart. My whole heart will melt.
Yes. I love mac and cheese.
My whole heart melts with macaroni and cheese.
That's me.
I bet if you cut me open right now, it's just mac and cheese. My heart melts over food.
Every time we talk about food, okay?
I just get so excited. I get so excited. Listen, so I knew me and Erin were like kindred spirits. It's just I'm the more outspoken one before you know me. Now, in one of my favorite restaurants, I have to shout them out. By far is Indigo. There's a restaurant called Indigo.
I've never been there.
Most people don't know about it. If you are in, let me get real close to the microphone. They are top 10 in the world.
Indigo.
World. And they're in Fifth Ward, and Chef Johnny Rhodes.
Okay.
I mean, this man literally makes, it's him and his wife. So it's Chef Johnny Rhodes and his wife, Miss Rhodes. And it is a mix of comfort food, but food that is based out of our ancestry. And I mean, he literally, like, his wife will come out and walk you through why this dish was created and how, like, they made ash cakes and they cooked them the same way that slaves had made them during slave times. Like, it was buried between levels of ash, and the food is phenomenal. Top 10 in the world. Not in Texas, not in the country, but right here in Fifth Ward, restaurant Indigo. You have to go, and of course you have to go to Steak 48. The ambiance is great. The people are usually really, really nice. The food is delicious. I've been there before, so I definitely agree with you. Okay, so you know where the places to go. If you want to bump into Erin, or if you need an attorney and you just happen to be there, look for her at Steak 48. So let me ask you a question. What is something that you would recommend for anybody that comes to Houston? What is a must-visit place? Food, it can be anything.
A must-visit place. You know what? I need to get out more audio because I'm like, I don't know what is the place that I would say that they just have to go to when they come. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think COVID has just gotten all of our brains like stuck.
Yeah, I can't think of somewhere I'm like, okay, where have I missed, outside of just hanging out with my friends, but I'm trying to think of a place I would want to go. I can't think.
COVID, we're on a COVID brain freeze right now. That's okay. I'll let you slide with that question. But let me ask you a question. Have you voted in the primary runoff? There's an early vote going on right now. It's a primary runoff. The ballot is maybe like this big. It takes like 10 minutes to vote. Have you gotten a chance to get out there and vote?
I know that I have. I'm one of those people, in the back of my mind, I keep thinking July 10th. I have until then.
Oh, you're going to go to the, okay, you're that person.
I have not gone yet.
Okay, that's okay. You have literally until July 10th for early voting. And then the day of the primary vote is actually July 14th.
Right.
So you got time. Right. But it's whether you want to get stuck in the lines or not.
No, I'm going to definitely early vote, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay. And that's fair. So anybody out there, you know the information. Get out there and vote. It's a very small ballot, but it's worth voting. It's definitely worth voting.
Right.
You want to exercise that right. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you heard about Kanye West's announcement? So Kanye West just recently announced that he's running for president. I'm going to refrain from giving any opinion because I'm just very opinionated, and you probably can read it all over my face. But what's your thought? What's your thought? I mean, maybe we're like, hey, can't get any worse. We can only go up from here. I don't know.
I would say I'm going to reserve a lot of my opinions, but I will say to anyone, because there are some people who they just say, oh, he's running, I'm gonna vote for him. That's never good.
Never.
This is serious. This is the person that's going to be leading our country, and I would just say look at a person's experience and background. Now granted, we do have someone.
I know.
Yeah, so I would just say. What could he possibly, bring as a president? And how can I say this? Some people might just stick to music, and you're
right. I think some people, look, hey, certain lanes were created for certain people, and certain people can get outside the box, and they're flexible and they're well-rounded. Right. I think, I think it's exactly what you said. It's not a yes or no. It's, hey, go do the research, delve in a little bit more. What has this person shown us? What have they done by their actions, their words? Has it matched up? What is it looking like? And then you decide who you want to vote for. Right. But at the very least, the local politics do control our day-to-day life, so make sure you get out and vote for that.
Absolutely.
Now, quick question. how do we get in touch with you? How do we stay in touch with you? How can people follow you?
Okay, so you can follow my Instagram page and my Facebook. My Instagram is Quander Law Firm, Quander Law Firm, and then my Facebook is the Quander Law Firm PLLC. You can get in touch with me anytime, 832-930-7139.
Absolutely. So if you have any family issues, criminal defense issues, this is the woman to call. This is who you need to call, Attorney Erin Quander, and I'm personally signing off for her. She is an amazing person, an amazing attorney. And any closing advice for the people out here listening or watching? Any last tidbit of advice?
I would just say for everybody to continue staying healthy, stay out of those clubs, and just hopefully overall what you've gathered from our conversation today is if you have a dream that you've been wanting to pursue, anything you've been putting off, go for it and go after it. Nothing beats a failure, but a try. And so I would encourage anybody, whether you're male or female, if you've been wanting to start a business, if you've been unsure, you are just needing the extra motivation, just start somewhere. Do something that's going to put you in a position to reach that goal. Do it today. Don't put it off anymore.
I love that. And with those final words, I have nothing else to say. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 3 of the Phoenicia Show podcast. We will see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.